Hope you guys are enjoying um, playing around with simple freedom in your day-to-day life. And let me just say freshly in this moment what that means. So, simple freedom, once again, is the freedom of everything to just be what it is in this moment. Freedom is the freedom of me to be me. And some people might say, how is that? How is that freedom? Like that sounds more like a trap because I don't like being me. And that's a valid that's a valid point to raise. It can be difficult to describe or illuminate this flavor of freedom that's being pointed to here. And I guess the most direct way to respond to that type of concern about this would be to say something like, well, can you just see that you're fully allowed to be you and having that feeling of feeling trapped being you or not wanting to be you? Can you see that all of those feelings you may be having of wanting to escape or wanting to be somewhere else, wanting to be something different, that those are all fully allowed and in a sense fully embraced and accepted by being itself, by just what is? They just are. It's just the simple fact that now just is as it is. And if there's resistance coming up, if there's a desire to escape, if there's a desire to be someone else, if there's a feeling like this is all too much, this is all too painful, I don't want to be me anymore, there's a profound sense in which that too is the freedom of life just showing up that way and fully allowed to be that in that moment, just fully allowed to express as that. And if you can just begin to try to shift the frame and look at it as if you were like a character in a novel, for example, or a character in a painting, a character woven in a tapestry, if you could start to look at your situation as more like a divine artwork, a master artwork that is ever morphing, ever moving, ever shifting, maybe you can start to see that even the dreary textures, even the textures we typically feel like we would want to change or get rid of, those are part of the dynamism of this radiant moment, exactly as it's showing up. Those are part of what makes this moment this moment. They're dimensions of this wholeness and in a sense, we could say there's nothing inherently wrong with them. They are as they are. There are other textures of energy that are showing up, showing up. Oftentimes, though, if we're really caught up in a kind of story that says, this is painful, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be this person anymore, I don't want to be in this body, what is probably most useful in that circumstance is actually to do whatever possible to pay attention to something that is outside of the story. So stare very intently at a wall or a sky, or what I perhaps prefer is to just close my eyes and go into the buzzing aliveness of the body, the buzzing aliveness of the field of nowness, just sensitively feeling, tasting, engaging in this kind of full body listening and just feeling these percolating textures that are not part of the story because no story can actually contain them or say what they are. There's just this incredibly fine-grained, incredibly detailed, continuously morphing lusciousness of energy that is constantly and continuously and always present. And if you go to that, pretty quickly, if you're able to just kind of stay with that, be with that, pretty quickly, you're completely outside your story and you're somewhere else entirely. You're slip sliding, free flowing through unsayable wondrousness, unsayable percolatingness, unsayable bubbliness, fizz. It kind of feels like it's fizzing. There is this subtle energetic quality of all experience that we can tune into when we drop the labels. And when we go into that, that's when we can really start to see the fascination, the richness of the moment just as it is. That's when we can really start to see, like, oh, nothing really needs to be added or subtracted from this. And really, I've rapidly forgotten about whatever my so-called problems were because I'm just noticing that this moment is full of this ever dancing, percolating bubbliness, this aliveness, this continuum of dancing richness. And I don't even know what that is. I can't say what that is, and yet it's here. It's it's alive. It's alive. It's moving, it's morphing, shifting, it's flowing. And when you zoom into that level of perception or that kind of way of being with reality very intimately, it just undercuts so much of the scaffolding of our suffering. Because pretty quickly you're just like outside of the normal sense of time, the normal sense of space, the normal sense of me, the normal sense of problems and that's not to negate any of that. I love spending a lot of time in the mode of just being me, just being human, just being your boy JB, hit me on the low low, you know? And at the same time, it's incredibly valuable to know that this simple rest is always available, right here, right here. Simple rest, spaciousness. And the space opens up when we drop the interpretation, temporarily at least, and we just go directly into the energy presence. Let the now moment be a direct energy presence. Let it be, slip into it like slipping into a hot bath. Slip into it like putting on the most delicious satin bathrobe. Slip into it like you were sliding into a giant vat of oatmeal. Let yourself feel the textures that are here. There is an infinity of sparkling detail. This moment is already shining. It's already luminous. It's already awake to itself. It's already whole. It's already complete. It's already present. And all of that can be noticed, this literal infinity of richness that lives outside of our conventional human bandwidth. The conventional human bandwidth is fully included. That's another range of modes and perspectives that are fully available, fully included, and fully groovy to play with. But if you happen to be not enjoying that conventional range so much, it's very useful to know that there is an infinity of bandwidth, density, modes, flavors, fine-grained lusciousness outside of your story, outside of your conventional mode, outside of consensus human reality, which includes a very, you know, it's all relative, but we could say a very narrow bandwidth of what is here. And so if you just let yourself go to the strangeness, the existential bizarre fact that this is actually here, that's another way to kind of snap out of the story. Like, whoa, this is actually here. Like, what am I? What is this? Who's who's what's in there? How is this happening? How's it doing what it's doing? How are these seeming appendages morphing and shifting in this bizarre fashion? What seems to be effulging right now, you know? You ask the questions like, what is this? And what is I? What is me? What is now? You don't ask them looking for an answer so much as to snap you out of your habitual mode of assuming that you know what this is. And then you can start to be with it as existential mysteriousness, as palpable thusness, actuality. Like, this is actually here. This is actually here. This is actually here. And as you do this more and more, it's mysterious how this works. And to a certain extent, you may just have to take my word for it until you play with it and find out for yourself. But if you do this more and more, whenever you feel inspired to do so, and do be aware that if you do this too much, it could pretty quickly lead to very strange and potentially destabilizing places. So, you know, microdose or macrodose according to your best discernment. But the more that you just go to the immediacy as a naked fact of existential mysteriousness, and whenever you feel inclined, you drop the story, the interpretation, and you stay with the bubbling, fizzling juiciness, the raw fact that this is here, the freshness of ever morphing sensory data, the ever swirling artistry, the strange fact that if you zoom in on any of the infinite points in the experiential field, it just opens into more and more of itself. It opens into bottomless richness. There is this way in which the entire experiential field is continuously morphing and shifting. It's like a pensieve or a cauldron of etheric brew. What is it? What is it? It's fluid. It's liquid. It's oceanic. Strange, very strange. And when you go to that full field, that's another way to be with it. You can try to feel the full field. But when you just go to these qualities of actuality that are outside of your usual story, and you spend an increasing amount of time staying with those qualities, something begins to happen. Something begins to shift. Your story tends to become de-emphasized. It starts to lose its vice grip on you. You're still fully free to enjoy it, you're still fully free to enjoy the perspective of being you, of being a person, and yet you're no longer caged by that story. That's no longer the only bandwidth available to you, and you no longer feel trapped by that story. You gradually feel a sense of like melting in and just noticing that you're already fully melted in. You're a milk chocolate ball fully melted into Willy Wonka's ever-flowing chocolate river already, you know? This is Willy Wonka's ever-flowing chocolate river right here, and we are milk duds made entirely of that chocolate river, temporarily crystallizing as a fuzzily boundaried entity, yet utterly made of chocolate, to use a strange and fun metaphor. Utterly made of the one flowing river of chocolate. And when you spend more time just tasting the chocolate, instead of lost in ideas, assumptions, assuming that you know what it is. And again, if you're enjoying your human perspective, there's no need to play with this. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, baby. Nothing to do but be you, baby. If you're enjoying your natural human perspective, then by all means, enjoy the heck out of it. Enjoy the heaven out of it. It's gorgeous. It's it's a source of immense happiness and meaning. I spend a lot of my time there. I love just being Jordan. I love being me. I love being a dad and a husband and a brother, a son, a friend. It's beautiful. And and at the same time, there is this possibility, this possibility to discover a much wider range of modes. I see somebody's dropping in here. Welcome, David. You're the first one here. I've been recording and sharing kind of a talk though, so I'm gonna finish talking a bit about this, and then if you want to chat a bit, I'm very happy to do so. But just to finish what I was saying, yeah, if that bandwidth of human perspective has become burdensome, or you feel, you know, trapped by that, or you feel a sense of suffering around that, then this can be something to explore. This can be something to explore, going to the freshness, going to the radiance, whenever you feel like it, just letting yourself taste the texture of now, letting yourself taste the raw existential fact of now, the fact that this is here, the raw data, being with it as this juicy, effulgent presence of pure artistry, and dropping the story, at least temporarily, and just savoring the beingness, savoring the percolationness, the bubblingness, the fizzingness. I mean, I'm just looking at this curtain right now. It's just what we would call a curtain. Usually no one pays any attention to it. And yet it is an astonishing fact of being. It's an astonishing face of God. That is the shape of God. And it's morphing continuously. If I look closely at it, if I zoom in, there, there's this continual swirling and dancing and vibratory quality in the visual field. And what even is this visual impression? We call it a curtain. Really, all I'm seeing right now is a uh, vaguely patterned splotch of what we call color displayed in what we call the visual field. What is that? What is that? Where is that coming from? How is that here? So that's the type of inquiry, that's the type of bare experiencing that you hang out with. You start to discover that approach of bare experiencing, bare bones meditation, yoga of radiant presence, whatever you want to call it, you hang out with the raw, naked textures as raw, naked textures, letting go of the notion that they're objects in space-time and just letting them be raw, naked textures experientially. And this has a tendency over time to open up vastly different modes of being that can be incredibly liberating, where your story can really become de-emphasized, or you gain an autonomy, a sovereignty to de-emphasize your story increasingly whenever you want to. You gain an ability to just kind of flip this switch and switch into this different set of modes, these modes of just pure exploration of existential deliciousness, strangeness, wackiness, flowingness, weirdness, texturedness. And again, it's very mysterious, it's very hard to explain, but somehow hanging out with those textures is cumulative over time, and gradually it gradually tends to dissolve the sense of being apart from this. It dissolves the sense that this is incomplete, the sense that this is not whole. It leads toward a sense that this is whole, this is complete, this is what is, this is reality, everything is reality, every experience I'm having is fully reality. There's no special destination I'm looking for that will complete me that's other than this right here. What I'm really looking for is this right here. This is artistry. This is flowering. This is blossoming. This is astounding. This is preposterously strange and goofy and groovy that this is here at all. And it is what it is. It is what it is. And every moment it just is what it is. And who am I to claim to assess its success or failure? How could I possibly step outside of reality to objectively assess the success or failure of any phenomenon appearing here? This is a description of the kind of modes that can open up, that can be very liberating to have access to and be able to play with. And it's those modes that reveal what simple freedom points to. It's those types of modes that help you sensitize to the artistry so that you can see that you're always simply free to just appreciate the artistry here and now, however it's showing up. And what's showing up is free to be what it is. It's just fully free to be what it is. No one can make it otherwise. Try to make the now moment something else, it's already gone before you could think about making it other than what it is. It just always is what it is. And there's a great freedom in just letting it be what it is. Just letting it be what it is, letting yourself be what you are in any given moment. So, thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. That was a little introductory talk today for this session about simple freedom. And as I said, David's joined us now, so maybe he wants to say something. I see in the chat, he says, seeing the whole universe in a flower and eternity in an hour. Yeah, William Blake. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Hello,
Beautiful.
Jordan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you,
Okay.
my friend. Hello.
Yeah, I apologize about the noise because I'm at work at the moment, so I can't even use the video. I just want to thank you for the beautiful words and yeah, and the beautiful introduction because I was actually just listening just before I joined in. I was listening to a talk about Hermeticism by Terence McKenna, which I was already familiar with, but it's 4 hours, so it's been a long time since last time I heard it. And it's funny because in the end, all of these doctrines, all of these religions are all fingers pointing at the sky, to the same sky. And many people, when they talk about religion, belief systems, whatever, as you said before, like as the word, as Terence McKenna said, like everything that derives from the word is kind of a lie because the ultimate truth, the ultimate radiant truth, the yoga of radiant presence, Peter Brown is unspeakable. It's indescribable. However, he also mentioned that philosophical discourse can help to direct our energy and our analysis to this whole, right? So I think that's what we're doing for in the end, for that and for life. So yeah, once again, apologize about the noise here. I'm in a big center, and I hope you could hear the full message because I can't be always on the phone. So thank you.
Yeah, beautifully said, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, I love Terence McKenna. And yeah, I think it's fascinating how, in one sense, everything in existence points only to existence. What else could it point to? It's all reality pointing at itself from a million angles. As Peter Brown would sometimes say, every word in the dictionary refers only to this right here, refers only to reality. What else could it be referring to? And then in another sense, there's also, from another angle, every religion and every system and every philosophy, it kind of emphasizes different parts of this and guides toward and opens into different modes and different ways to be with this. And there are all of these differences in terms of the kinds of modes that are emphasized and the kinds of modes that these different systems, philosophies, and religions lead us toward, and the ones that they really cherish the most and prize the most. And it's interesting how they also, most of them have exoteric teachings that lead toward a certain set of modes and experiences. And then most of them have inner cores of esoteric teachings that explore usually a stranger set of modes. Um, and something that I feel like humanity is being invited to potentially evolve toward is just this kind of meta understanding, kind of a meta religious understanding that none of these modes are wrong or incorrect in a very profound sense. They're all reality. They're all different ways that reality can experience itself, ways reality can be with itself. It's just like a giant smorgasbord or a giant choose your own adventure game of see where your karmic, bobber naturally flows in the great ocean. See where you are gravitationally summoned toward naturally and play with those modes, explore those modes and find your natural center of gravity. And you will find that all the different religions and systems and teachings and philosophies, they do actually open into wildly different modes in many cases. Some of them point to modes that are very similar to each other. Some of them point to modes that are vastly different. Some of them emphasize the human modes much more, and some of them emphasize modes that are much more transpersonal or transcendent. And so I just think it's very helpful for me to see that all those modes are fully valid. They're all fully this. They're all fully reality. Reality is fully present in all those modes. And in a profound sense, as you say, every mode is a finger pointing toward the one reality. And there's this cool diversity too, where we can also appreciate that all these different modes do have different features and different kinds of trade-offs. And then as we discover that, we're more free to say, well, I think I naturally gravitate more toward these modes, and we can kind of let go of a feeling of like, oh, I need to make sure I stay within these modes because that teacher said that these modes are what constitute true enlightenment or true awakening. When you see that the words awakening or enlightenment, they don't refer to anything other than just this right here. They just refer to reality itself. Then you're free to realize, like, oh, any mode or expression of reality is fully that, is fully reality, is fully what is. So I don't have to prioritize some modes over another or create this hierarchy. I can just let my heart feel its resonance and flow in the direction of the modes that truly resonate with me. And so, yeah, that's what comes up for me in relation to what you shared. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. Absolutely. Or in other words, I would say all religions, all these fingers are different colors of the same rainbow, and we can't even forget that even the whole rainbow doesn't show us all the whole spectrum. There's the infrared and the ultraviolet, which you can't even see, even with the rainbow. And then the rainbow also comes from inside of our own eyes. So that's a whole other trip we can get into. Um, and then also, as Alan Watts said, which I kept being reminded of listening to your words, the, our eyes, we are kind of the universe looking at itself as pure consciousness. And I think that's kind of the function of the eye, and of the physical eye, the human animal eye, also, and the spirit, the eye of the spirit. And the more we look at the universe and try to analyze and stitching it from the knife, which we can't. The more we look at it, the bigger the universe has to get, the more it has to expand. The more we try to dissect the atom and get to the essence of what is there in the material, the more the material, the smaller and smaller it needs to get to accommodate some these fractal relationships, right? In space, and time is crazy. And then also finish, like the more we try to zoom out and see this planet as with a bird's eye view, as in the top of a mountain or from a rocket ship, we can see how we can see how the all of our troubles and all of our beliefs and all of our whole life running from place to place in such like these highways and stretching out like healthy veins. It's just as the sun comes up, it's incredible. This beautiful matrix to which we, like ants, dedicated ants, we all belong to as a collective. Just look at a big city from the top view, right? At sunrise and watch it all come into being, right? Like we are really little cells, little white blood cells in a huge bloodstream. And I really love being able to entertain, just to finish my point here, both perspective of just like it is an hermetic principle, as above, so below, like always contemplate something to, having in mind its opposite or its absence or its polar. Just as it's nice to contemplate the whole and the big picture and the whole world and watching all the mountains and the rivers flow and humanity as tiny, tiny little ants from a distance. It's also nice to zoom back in into our own microcosm and yeah, and get involved with all of these and admire, as you said, in the now without making any effort with the mind, just admiring all of these little complexities that we involve ourselves in every single day. I think it's really beautiful and yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well said, my friend. Well said. Yeah, there's just so much beauty in every direction to explore. And yeah, there's just so many different modes we can explore it through. We can, zoom way out, we can zoom way in, and we can just stay at the level of our ordinary experience. And I think in that sense, science can be seen as deeply spiritual in a sense if you just see it as um, revealing more layers of the miraculousness and just kind of demonstrating even more so this principle of like how reality always just opens into more of itself. Anything, any direction you look, experience is always just opening into more of itself. And that becomes especially pronounced and profound when you look under a microscope and you see that if we zoom in on, what seems to be physical matter, it just opens into more and more degrees of fractal strangeness. And if we aim a telescope at the night sky, it just opens into more and more degrees of fractal strangeness. And there are just, these are again just valid modes, valid ways that reality can seem to be. And yet it's cool how even though reality is fully present in every mode, no single mode or perspective or angle on it can ever pin it down or fully encapsulate it or monopolize it. It's like it's all the perspectives at once, and somehow it's also none of them and beyond them and in between them and around them. It's just like reality is so slippery, it's so multidimensional, it's so strange. And even the notion of pure consciousness looking through the eyeball and the universe seeing itself, I like to notice how it's like, yeah, I can be with it that way. I can see it as pure consciousness, or I that's one kind of that has certain metaphysical implications if you take consciousness as primary, Or, I can play with the notion of matter as primary. I can play with the notion of energy as primary, or I can play with the notion of just a mysterious substance that I have no idea what it is as primary. And these are all different modes and all different ways we can explore. And I find that, yeah, I just can't really land anywhere increasingly. Like there's there's no in a sense there's nowhere to land, and that's okay. That's part of the freedom. That's kind of like you don't get stuck anywhere because you just see that every dimension, every mode is another valid perspective, another valid way this can seem to be, and it's all allowed to just flow. And I guess if some people might find that disorienting and be like, well, what's the compass? How do you navigate? And I guess I would say for me, the the truest compass is my heart, my human heart and my heart of hearts. And yeah, just those moments when I'm looking in my daughter's eyes and I start crying, the moments where I'm just crying from an overwhelming sense of God's grace, an overwhelming sense of divine grace permeating reality, and it's just bringing me to tears. Those are the moments where I feel most profoundly connected to what is, and where I feel like I'm touching what for me feels somehow like the heart of reality, or the deepest truth that I am able to touch. And I would say it's those feelings of profound love and grace that are the truest North Star for me, in this life. And everybody has to find their own compass and their own guiding principles. Anything more you'd like to add to that, my friend? It's nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Jordan, for your words. As you usually say, so both neither and partly and neither. Everything that's a good. Like you were saying, just say um, using both of our analogies together. I guess you could say that comparing one belief system to another, trying to say that one is superior, superior to another, like
It's pretty
how
hard
long
to
is
hear
that?
you now, my friend. You're
Oh,
breaking
I
up
apologize.
pretty badly.
I would say that I hope it's better now. I would say that not only it's being kind of stuck in a polarity frame of mind, but also it's kind of saying that yellow is better than red or that blue is better than orange. Doesn't make any sense. Uh, uh, we would be tired if the whole world were just one color. We would be very tired of it pretty fast and have a headache pretty fast. So it's cool that we are able to enjoy the whole rainbow, and that we even know that there's more frequencies beyond the ones that we can't see, and live with that ignorance that we don't know shit, as the McKennas like to say. Yeah, I'm sorry for the noise. I hope you could hear me now.
Yeah, that was clear. And yeah, beautifully said, my friend. Yeah, just saying that yellow's better than green, who's to say? And yeah, that ability to just appreciate the full tapestry is so incredibly valuable. And then at the same time, it's also totally valid for us to then ask, okay, well, all modes are valid, and at the same time, which which do I really want to pass on to my children? What stories and mythologies and reality maps do I want to give to my kids and to our kids, and which modes and ways of being and perspectives do I really want to encourage in what I pass on to my children and our children that seem to be most aligned with what tend to be, fairly universal human values like harmony and peace and well-being and, Thanksgiving, community. these types of things. And so, yeah, I think it's also good to point that out too, that we can appreciate the full rainbow, and that doesn't stop us from also pragmatically asking, what is most likely to be beneficial to our children and future generations and all beings and the whole cosmos. What maps and stories and mythologies can we tell that help mankind to harmonize in service of the upliftment of all beings in all worlds? And that's a tall order, and and at the same time, it's nice to have a North Star to aspire toward.
Absolutely, Jordan. You touched on really raising children is, I think, kind of the ultimate test of which lessons we have learned, I think, in this incarnation. Being 33, I think we have the same age, roughly speaking, from the same year. I still don't have kids, but I have to say that during the first Simple Freedom, I think, or the Lion's Heart, I don't remember. In one of those sessions, I even wrote you about it. I heard during the meditation, I was deep into the meditation, the initial meditation, and I heard your daughter, I thought it was your son before, I heard your daughter a chuckle in the background. That was the moment I realized I'm ready to be a dad. So that's how powerful children are, and
It
how
was the
powerful meditation.
moment you realized what?
I'm ready to become a father.
Ah, wow.
So that was really profound, and in such a simple chuckle from your daughter. So yeah, kudos to her and kudos to you. And I even lost my point with this, but yeah, I just wanted to, yeah, I don't really know my point with this right now. I also have to keep half my brain focused at work, but yeah, it's really, it's really beautiful, this whole contemplation that one can do. Yeah, and I think children are, yeah, I'm beginning to remember my point. Children are really a really good test of which lessons we've learned. I think integrating, like teaching this spirit, this intuitive knowledge, spiritual knowledge, which all children already know from the moment they are born by nature, as carriers, bearers of the light, of course. Um, in reality, the process of upbringing, in my view, is just really trying to conciliate what your inner mind's eye, your inner spirit already knows and doesn't need any schooling or education for it. And it's kind of balancing that pureness, that innocence with, of course, all the challenges of the Babylon, of the world, that's the material world we live in. And I think the biggest challenge as a father throughout all of humanity, certainly, but especially nowadays, with the increased polarity and technology that is being weaponized against people, is how to teach the children, our children, how to deal with these forces, because these forces, these Saturnian forces, are coming after our children, are coming after us now, or they're coming after our children. And it takes a really wise kind of education to be able to prepare our children through their upbringing all the way up until they're adults, to be able to deal with these energies, which are not always benevolent. They're not always good for us. And many people say that we are really only fully ready, if we've learned our lessons, to deal with this Saturnian responsibility, this Babylonian energy that we all need to face. We're really only fully ready to deal with it, if so, during our Saturn return, which is the point where Saturn comes back to the same spot in the skies where it was when we were born. And it happens somewhat between 27 and 30 years old. I'm sure you've heard of it. I don't know. I just keep thinking about these things and how astrology and these maps can help us to navigate. But parenthood is definitely a biggie. It's definitely a big one. Because one thing is taking care of ourselves, We can make any kind of mistakes. We just need to deal with the consequences. But when kids are involved, it's a whole different game.
Yeah, well said, my friend. Yeah, I've said many times that it's pretty scary in a way to have a child in this world, being aware of all of the dangers and the traps and the shadows and the malevolent forces that are at play in this reality and or in this layer of reality, this planet, however you want to look at it. And yeah, that's man, it's at the same time I don't resonate with the people who say, we should all just stop having kids because there's just too much suffering here and we'd be better off not to reproduce anymore, the kind of anti-natalists. I don't feel that way. That seems too grim and too life denying. I feel like life is a great gift, even with all the darkness. And oftentimes there are tremendous gifts even found in the darkness, even though it may take a lifetime to notice or a long time to notice that there were great gifts in the darkness. But yeah, it's something that concerns me and something that I'm gonna continue to live my way into the answers to, like how to prepare my daughter, how to teach her, how to train her for what's coming to live in this world. And at a certain point, I think parenthood is a lot about doing the best we can and gradually letting go with the understanding that no amount of preparation is ultimately going to prevent our child from also having to learn their own lessons. And all of us, one way or another, we learn our own lessons in this world. We make mistakes, we slip up, we take our knocks, we take our bumps and bruises. And as a parent, you start learning that super early on. You can watch your child as close as you want. They're still going to find ways to fall down and hit their head and bump their elbow and it's yeah, it's heart-wrenching as a parent. It's difficult. And I imagine it just continues to be that way. It's a never-ending ceremony in a sense, a very deep ritual, a very deep initiation to become a parent and to feel that sense of vulnerability, almost like your own heart has been ripped out of you and become its own being outside of you. And you want to do everything you can to protect that being and help that being to have a beautiful, nourishing, healthy, wonderful life. And at the same time, you are forced to reckon with the fact that we do live in this strange world, this often dark, often difficult world. And yeah, that's just part of the great mystery of what this is and why it is the way it is, the mystery of karma, the mystery of why things show up the way they do, and nothing to do but work with what's right in front of us, I suppose. And as far as I can tell, you know, situations are workable. That's something they say sometimes in Buddhism, like all situations are workable. Um and yeah, so for me, I just feel like I'm gonna teach my daughter as best I can. I'm gonna train her as best I can. I'm gonna try my best to help her understand what's out there and what she's up against without I don't want to implant like too much kind of fear or too much like ominousness and give her a sense of paranoia about what's out there. So it's also going to be interesting to find that balance of like really trying to let her know that there are very real things to watch out for while also trying to help encourage her to trust life and have courage and be brave and generally have a positive attitude and a positive outlook and believe in herself and all those types of things. So, yeah, it's one of the greatest tests as a human being, being a parent and how to approach that. And yeah, we do the best we can, and the chips fall where they do.
Oh, yeah, great words. Thank you, Jordan. And
Your audio is pretty low again, my friend.
oh, sorry. Thank you for your words, Jordan. Very beautiful words. I think that humor is a great way of looking at shadows, because when you face these dark forces, these shadows that you mentioned with humor, all of a sudden something cracks right before your eyes. Like you don't identify with the negativity all of a sudden. You see it for what it is, and it's not like you're putting yourself above it, but you're certainly taking the high road. I think humor in the darkest of times can be a really powerful weapon of positivity and a beacon of light. And when we look at the like I live in the center of the city now, and sometimes I see the south side, I see the wheel of life, and I just have to laugh sometimes. If I don't, then I'm like, well, the whole world is crazy. When you take one step back and you're like, well, yeah, the whole world is crazy, but wow, isn't it freaking funny how how we just run around from place to place and stuff, and we seldom have moments of awareness, some more than others, and anyways, equal, all born equal, some more equal than others, blah blah blah. Anyway, it doesn't really matter what you say about it, but you really reminded me the importance of humor, and I think in this case also in parenting, because kids are so funny and all. Here, even kids show us the answer to this darkness and to this shadow. It's just to have a good laugh about it. The laughing Buddha. Yeah. Uh-huh. Thank you.
Yeah, well said, my friend. 1000% agree. Yeah, I remember I once asked Peter Brown what is the enlightened view of politics, and he said entertainment, and thought that was a great pointer toward just, I mean, if you're not able to find the entertainment and the laughter at the things that are going on, then you're probably going to be getting pretty well crushed under the weight of the concern about it all. I mean, laughter is, yeah, a divine infusion of holy levity and instant transcendence in a way. And it's just, I mean, it is preposterous. It is absurd, the things that are happening, and you have to be able to laugh at it. So I completely resonate with that. And I like the notion of serious play. It's like we find that balance between laughing at the world without falling into just like completely feeling like the world is just a joke and it's just an absurd, comedy of bullshit and it doesn't matter because, going too far into not taking the world seriously can kind of go into apathy or nihilism. So we kind of balance the humor with sincerity and earnestness and also seeing that, you know, this is real, this is here, this is happening and this matters and it's speaking to us, it's calling out to us and life really seems to be inviting us to open our hearts and serve this place, this world, these people, our families, our friends, be there for each other and walk each other home. Um, yeah.
Aho.
Aho, my friend. Well, maybe I'll start to wind us down with a closing meditation if that works for you, unless there's anything you want to add, David.
I think for now, I think this was a beautiful ending. Not taking things too seriously, but also not falling into the joke. Yeah, keeping the another hermetic principle is seeing things in their opposites above to below. So there can be no joke
Audio is
without its.
low again, my friend.
Oh, sorry. There can be no joke without the seriousness. There can be no seriousness without the laughter, without the joke, the cosmic giggle. So yeah, let's go on to the meditation. I will have to do it with some alertness since I'm at work. But yeah, I will definitely dive in as much as I can.
Sure,
Thank
yeah,
you.
no worries, my friend. Yeah, so for anybody listening, just feel welcome to close your eyes if you like, put a hand on your heart if you like, or both hands, maybe a hand on your heart, a hand on your belly, and just whew, bringing this Simple Freedom retreat to a close. It's been a wonderful series of weeks with everyone who's been tuning in, and really grateful for everybody, sending a lot of love. Thank you for participating in this. And yeah, as we draw to a close, I would just invite you to feel into the heart space, and if it feels right, just let yourself open to a feeling that you can trust life, you can trust the heart of life, you can trust God, you can trust the creative principle of what is, you can trust the loving intelligence of what is. It's opening to the possibility that there is this omnipresent field of unconditional love that holds everything. This omnipresent suchness, beingness, Satchitananda, universe, cosmos, matter, energy, consciousness, doesn't matter what we call it. These are all different angles on the same thing, the unsayable, the unnameable, the ether, the prima materia. Can you let yourself feel it? It's much more fundamental than what it's called. Can you let yourself feel that rest is available now, that you are one with this ever flowing ether? You are whole. You are fully embedded, fully melted into this tapestry of wholeness, this continuum of allness that can present as multiplicity or unicity or nothingness or everythingness or formfulness, emptiness, humanity, transpersonalness, astral strangeness, and so many realms. There's so many faces of this mystery. There's so many faces. Can you discover that which is present in every face, in every expression? Presence itself, presence itself, presence itself. Can you let yourself feel this undeniable presence of being. It's here, it's all around us. It touches the heart. When the heart opens to this wholeness of presence, this indivisibility of seamless, boundless presence, love is the inherent flavor of that. Love and connection, sacredness. If you feel called, can you let yourself open to direct tasting of reality, direct, intimate engagement with what is here, letting it be just as it is, letting it be just as it is, letting it be just as it is. That is simple freedom. Letting everything be just as it is. Loving everything just as it is. Freedom is the fruit of love, as my dear friend Remy Delon once said. Can we open our hearts to a full embracing of this vast tapestry of being? Can we love all aspects such that all is redeemed and all is held and all is naturally returned to its original numinous template, such that all can remember that we are home. This is home. You are home. You are home. This is home. It's all okay. You can trust. This is home. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for listening. I love you. Peace. Take good care. Amen. Aho. Namaste. Hallelujah. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. Let us always rejoice and be glad and give thanks. For this is the day that grace has made. Amen. Mhm. Thank you once more, David. Thank you, everyone. Much love to everybody. Take good care. Peace and love, family. Be well, and see you around the next bend in the river. Ciao for now. One love.